Good evening. It is 7:30 in the evening in India and we are back again with a spotlight on G20. Our lens today is on building capacities and promoting lifelong learning in the context of future of work within the education vertical under India's G20 presidency. While G20 is the premier global economic forum, issues in the realm of development are becoming increasingly relevant within the grouping, and skills and education can both be the new diplomacy drivers for India to strengthen its relations with G20 nations. It throws open an opportunity for India to collaborate with them on tech-enabled teaching, educational modules and skilling. It also gives India a fine opportunity to showcase what it has achieved in the skills sector. On India at G20 today, we explore what India can do as G20 president in the domain of building capacities and promoting lifelong learning in the context of future of work within G20. I'm Manu Bhattacharya. Let's get started with the top stories. Prime Minister Narendra Modi to chair second National Conference of Chief Secretaries in Delhi on 6th and 7th January. Conference is set to see focused deliberations on role of states in G20. Ministry of External Affairs says a special town hall on G20 will be organized as part of Pravasi Bharatiya Divas plenary in Indore from 8th to 10th January. Union Health Ministry identifies 3 priorities under health track: prevention, preparedness and response to health emergencies, boosting cooperation for access to safe, effective, quality and affordable vaccines, drugs and diagnostics, and digital health innovations and solutions to aid universal health coverage. Information and Broadcasting Minister Arunach Singh Thakur visits Guwahati, takes stock of preparations of Youth 20 group meetings as Guwahati gears up for hosting the first Y20 group meetings in February. Union Minister says holding G20 presidency during Azadi Ka Amrit Kal is a matter of great pride for India. In an exclusive conversation with DD India, Union Skill Development and Entrepreneurship Secretary Atul Kumar Tiwari says a skill harmonization framework and linking benchmarks for skilling across G20 nations is a key deliverable under India's G20 presidency. And G20 becomes the official theme of the International Kite Festival 2023, being held from 8th to 14th January in Gujarat. Here's a look now at why skilling, reskilling and upskilling are amongst the biggest requirements of the present times, what India is doing on that front and how G20 countries can collaborate in this domain.
One of the key objectives of education and training is to build capacity of learners and develop skills that are relevant to the current and future work environments. Providing quality education, lifelong learning opportunities and good quality jobs for all in terms of SDG 4 and 8 goals are major global priorities. While the 4th Sustainable Development Goal is ensuring inclusive and equitable quality education and promoting lifelong learning opportunities for all by 2030, the 8th SDG is promoting sustained, inclusive and sustainable economic growth, full and productive employment and decent work for all by 2030. The world is witnessing transformative changes in jobs and the way they are performed. Digital and other technologies are substituting many of the low-skilled human interventions. Trends such as demographic transitions and technological changes such as Industry 4.0, Web 3.0 and extended reality technology including Metaverse are set to drive such transformations. This implies that there are going to be significant workplace changes in the near future. Emerging trends and changing patterns in the use of digital and technological solutions in education across the world and within the G20 member countries call for more collaboration. It is important to identify the mix of skills that the workforce will need to be successful in careers and life and adapt education curriculum and technology to teach those new skills. India's National Education Policy unveiled in 2020 focuses on skilling, reskilling and upskilling, integrating school learning with skill development and forging an interface between higher education institutions and industry to prepare its human resources for the fast-changing nature of jobs.
एजुकेशन सेक्टर में ये जितने भी रिफॉर्म्स हुए हैं उनको नई नेशनल एजुकेशन पॉलिसी नई दिशा, नई मजबूती देने वाली है। नेशनल एजुकेशन पॉलिसी प्री नर्सरी से लेकर पीएचडी तक देश के पूरे एजुकेशन सेटअप में फंडामेंटल चेंजेस लाने वाला एक बहुत बड़ा अभियान है। हमारे देश के सामर्थ्यवान युवाओं को और ज्यादा कॉम्पिटिटिव बनाने के लिए मल्टी डायमेंशनल अप्रोच पर फोकस किया जा रहा है। कोशिश ये है कि हमारे युवा तेजी से बदलते नेचर ऑफ जॉब्स के लिए फ्लेक्सिबल हो, एडॉप्टेबल हो, स्किलिंग, रीस्किलिंग और अपस्किलिंग आज की सबसे बड़ी जरूरत है। नेशनल एजुकेशन पॉलिसी में इसका भी बहुत ध्यान दिया गया है।
As G20 President, India has an opportunity to ensure that learners across G20 countries acquire knowledge and skills that are relevant to the emerging work ecosystem, and every individual is empowered to derive the benefits of skilling, reskilling and upskilling at different stages of life. India can also look towards gearing education systems across G20 countries towards creating lifelong learning frameworks. Bureau Report, DD India.
For perspective, joining us now is Atul Kumar Tiwari, Secretary, Ministry of Skill Development and Entrepreneurship. Mr. Tiwari, welcome to India at G20. We are seeing that technologies are being increasingly used in workspaces around the world today. What is being done to train people in India in these fast evolving technologies to ensure jobs for a large young population? And will India and other G20 countries look to identify fast evolving trends and the mix of skills that workforce will need in future?
Manmohanji, you have asked a very, very deep question. And as you know, the future of work is being shaped by four major trends. One is the demographic trend, in which we find that the G20 countries, a large population of them is aging. Second is the technological change, as we had mentioned. Then there is the climate change. And we also have the globalization change, in the sense that the people are working in metaverse, they are people in hybrid circumstances. So the skill which is very much essential for all this is the how do we use the technology. That is point number one. But more than important is how do we continue on our journey of learning, relearning and reskilling. And that is one part. And second part is what and how we allow these skilling courses available to the masses so that they can learn and earn during their own life in a comfortable manner. So in this regard, the first part is the how do we bring the these kind of courses to the masses. And here we have this Bharat Skills and Future Skills, which we have done through NASDAQ. So there are online courses which are available, and the candidate can, as it suits him or her, can learn and improve their skilling quotient. India is also very important in the sense that we have a digital economy, which is quite an envy of the whole world. And we have the artificial intelligence, machine learning, big data analytics also. We have done quite a lot. So this is a time when we bring all this together, and so that the skilling requirement of the persons is fed through the AI or methods. So we know which area, what is the skilling required, that is one. Second is we also tailor the skilling in the terms of the artificial, by using the AR and VR system also. So the way the technology is changing, we find that all the skills, the job roles which we call it, they are getting obsolete within 3 years. So there's also a need for us to have a system whereby we continuously reimagine the skills which are required, use the technology, and for that also require very robust working system, which we are also working with the NCVT and with the sector scale councils and with the industries.
Fair enough. And what measures can India and other G20 countries take jointly for skilling, reskilling and upskilling of learners to close the skill gaps, expand institutional capacities at the same time for that, and develop a skill harmonization framework?
Munmanji, it is relevant to mention here that the Ministry of Skill Development is implicated on two fronts on the G20. One is on the Shaper track on the working group on education, where we are working with the Education Ministry on the future of the works. And we are also working with the Ministry of Labour on the skill harmonization framework. Now, these both things are very important in a sense that the G20 countries, because of the rapid demographic changes and technological changes, and particularly after the pandemic situation, whole world is having this issue of how do we realign our skilling to the changing times. And for that, they require some of the best practices there and what more can be done to bring skill and education and industry together. So that is one part. Second part is that because of the graying economy, graying people, and the silver economy as we call it, there is also a need to understand, particularly after the COVID, how the skills should be harmonized so that there is, the existing people are upskilled in the view of these rapid changes. B, if it is required, then how we can link the skilling benchmarks across the G20 countries so there is a seamless movement of people, if required, across the boundaries.
So this is going to be a collaborative effort between the Ministry of Education, the Ministry of Skill Development and Entrepreneurship, as well as the Labour Ministry. So how is India looking to collaborate with other G20 countries to promote lifelong learning in the context of future of work?
Yes. See, the G20 is a forum whereby we can learn from other countries' examples, and we can also collaborate to take it over one level higher than what we are. So here, the future works, we assume that by working together and learning from each other, we'll be able to indicate on the ways in which the skilling and education and working environment can be brought together in a sense that what has happened may not work in the changing circumstances. So what are the levers that will change? And on that levers, what kind of changes will be required in skilling and education as well as the working environment? And this is something which we'll need to work together to evolve a common strategy so that we can be taken forward for the better use of all the member countries.
I will take up the issue that you brought up of integrating education with skill development in a bit. But before that, is India looking to collaborate with other G20 countries to build robust digital learning ecosystems?
Certainly. As I told you that we have moved quite ahead in the digital learning ecosystem in our country. And there is also a vast amount of education material available in the other countries. But the idea is to link them in a manner that it is win-win for everyone. The content, etc., is also suitably indigenized to meet our requirements. So we will have to do is that we have to divide the skilling and education requirement into different levels. Insofar as the lower levels or the rudimentary levels is concerned, that can be met out of the country's examples. But insofar as higher skilling is concerned, as we call in our parlance NSQ of 5, 6, 7 and above, these can be made in a more collaborative manner among the countries and the education and skill providers.
Okay. And NEP 2020 proposes integrating education with skill development ecosystem. You also referred to that integration. Will G20 be a platform for exchange of best practices and for collaboration in this regard?
Murmanji, we already have digital ecosystems in education. Also, we have the SWAM, which is then we have Skill India Digital is there. We have Future Skills of NASCOM and Health Skills, as I talked to you about. And many countries also have the G20 solutions to capture jobs, learning and skilling and etc. What is more required here is that we need to work on a system whereby the skilling and education credentials are recognized across the boundaries. There is information about the courses which is available, digital or otherwise, among the countries. And what are the learning pathways as well as where are the working requirements. Now, as I was telling you, as you know already, that the India's national education policy, the way it is going to bring a transformational change, is quite a benchmark in the among the countries, and certainly G20 will give us an avenue to explain what all the inherent things, principles which we are trying to do in national education policy, how we are trying to link the education and vocational education together, and what are the technological changes which are trying to bring about, whether in terms of the NETF, whether the Economic Bank of Credit, whether it is the digital university, or we have this student registry, how we are linking the education and skilling portals along with the work portals together. So there are quite a transformational changes which are happening, which are made possible by integration of different platforms, and with the help of technology. Certainly, we will have a lot of things to talk about our national education policy and kind of the steps that our government has taken to bring them into reality.
So benchmarks have been set and best practices are going to be exchanged at the G20 forum. To summarize, what outcomes can be expected in the realm of skill development under India's G20 presidency?
Manmohanji, G20 by its forum works with the consensus. So first of all, that I'm sure that a lot of work has happened, some work has happened earlier in the G20's years as well. We expect that there will be a better appreciation of technical challenges related to skilling, and this will get reflected in the papers and publications and hopefully in the ministerial declarations. We'll also look forward to have some institutional mechanisms that can be undertaken, particularly in the labor working group, which is the global skill maps and harmonization of all G20 countries. We also hope that we work towards consensus on developing common skill taxonomies and skill harmonizations and common technological resources. That is only on the harmonization part. Insofar as future work is concerned, I think it will be possible to develop a roadmap for identifying skills for future workforce, so that their careers are enhanced, their income is increased, their welfare is ensured, and through a what shall I say, human-centered and intergenerational and anticipatory policy responses, and so that the benefit of skilling and education are brought to every individual as much as possible.
Thank you so much, Mr. Tiwari, for speaking to us and India at G20 and also giving us a preview on what to expect from G20 in the context of lifelong learning for future of work.
Thank you.
There you heard from Union Secretary Skill Development and Entrepreneurship on what to expect in the context of future of work under India's G20 presidency. Now let's get perspective from an educationist and industrialist. Joining us is Dr. B.V.R. Mohan Reddy, Founder Chairman Cient Limited and Chairman Board of Governors IIT Hyderabad. Mr. Reddy, welcome to DD India. We heard from the Skill Development Secretary about how under India's G20 presidency, India will work with other G20 member states towards a skill harmonization framework and linking of benchmarks for skilling across G20 countries. As an industrialist and educationist, how do you see this effort of the Government of India?
Thank you, Manmohanji, for inviting me for your program this evening. My greetings to all your viewers. I think I completely align myself in what Mr. Tiwari talked about so far in terms of harmonization of skill framework in the future between the G20 countries. I think what we see at this point of time is enormous amount of need for that, because there are three dimensions in which we think that the whole world is moving. The first one is acceleration of technology, and this technology is impacting every potential industry. And the third one is every potential job. We couldn't have imagined that agriculture will require technology intervened into it. But today, if you look at the flying of drones, it's basically an agriculturist who also has to learn about it. So the skill requirement of the future is going to be far different from what it has been so far. And it's been an extremely good move by the government in terms of bringing about the NEP 2020. But equally important is now trying to make the future of work, skilling and mobility as a key theme for making sure that there is a fairly large amount of collaboration, cooperation between the G20 countries.
So you've shared your priority list for G20. The ILO report on global employment trends for youth in the Bali G20 declaration have emphasized on the need for adopting a human-centered approach while determining strategy for future investments. In view of the increasing use of emerging technologies in workspaces and disruption in industries that we are seeing, how critical is that, and would you like India to pitch that approach at the G20 forum?
No, I think we can't stop the progression of technology. I think it's extremely important that we certainly take care of green. I think the declaration of the ILO report talks about, just in addition to green, it talks also about care and digital, these three things. Now, if you look at these three things, certainly their deployment cannot be stopped. Deployment is very essential at this point of time. But you need to have a human-centric approach in making sure that the humanity does not get impacted because of the rollout of technologies. What do we do therefore? I think the first and the foremost is we need to have a universal social security system within the countries and across the countries. Within the country, because there are a fairly large number of unorganized sectors too, which are being impacted at this point of time with the initiatives with green. But at the same time, we can't definitely ignore the unorganized sector labor pool we have. So therefore, the first is to have a universal social security system within the country. And then we also need to have mobility of people. So it has to be across the countries. So I think our focus in the G20 initiatives at this point of time, or the B20 initiatives that go along with it, is making sure that there will be a universal social security system and associated mobility.
Right. You were referring to national education policy earlier. NEP seeks to integrate school and higher education with skill development. Is that approach set to reap benefits for India as far as its human resources are concerned? And how can G20 countries gain from each other's best practices in this regard?
Sure. Thank you for asking that question, Munmunji. Certainly, I think we'll get benefited from each other. If you look at the emphasis on skills in education system, we have two countries which have done extremely well. One is Germany, the other is Switzerland. So there are a lot of learnings, but we have interwoven all of those into our NEP 2020 policy. And we are already seeing, because NEP 2020 is almost past 2-year time right now, and we have seen a lot of initiatives within the country at this point of time in making sure skilling becomes a part of the education system. We now have a fairly large number of internships. So the students from the education institutions are moving into the industry to get them skilled. Or we have now a new initiative called Professors of Practice. We want industry people to come back and teach them what skills are required in the industry per se. I can go on. So therefore, there are a number of initiatives within NEP 2020. There are good learnings from the other countries, which when put together will see a fairly good skilling base that will come out of India, which will make India the skilling capital.
Absolutely. So you are seeing India as the skilling capital of the world. We leave it at that, Dr. Reddy. That's all the time we have for this. Thank you so much for your inputs. The Ministry of External Affairs has said that a special town hall on G20 will be organized as part of Pravasi Bharatiya Divas plenary in Indore. Listen in.
Plenary sessions planned in the PBD on the themes of youth, healthcare, soft power, Indian workforce and women. 4 of these sessions would be headed by cabinet ministers, and again this is the very first time that we have cabinet ministers for various sessions, and the panelists are drawn from different walks of life. Additionally, we have a town hall plan on the G20 where the G20 Sherpa Shri Amitabh Kant as well as G20 coordinator Shri Harshvardhan Shringla will give a presentation on the India's G20 presidency. Just to give you
Prime Minister Narendra Modi will chair second National Conference of Chief Secretaries in Delhi on the 6th and 7th of January. It will be another key step towards further boosting partnership between the centre and the state governments. The first such conference of Chief Secretaries was held in Dharamshala in June 2022. The conference is set to see focused deliberations on role of states in G20. So Prime Minister Narendra Modi will be chairing the second National Conference of Chief Secretaries in Delhi. And that conference will be held on the 6th and the 7th of January. It will also witness focused deliberations on role of states in G20. Information and Broadcasting Minister Anurag Singh Thakur visited Guwahati and took stock of preparations of Youth 20 group meetings.
G20 की अध्यक्षता भारत को मिलना अपने आप में एक बड़ा गौरवशाली पल है और इस वर्ष में भारत जहां एक और आज़ादी का अमृत महोत्सव मना रहा है, वहीं पर G20 की प्रेसिडेंसी के माध्यम से ये भी दिखाने का प्रयास है कि कैसे भारत एक मदर ऑफ डेमोक्रेसी है, कैसे इस डेमोक्रेसी में भारत ने अलग अलग क्षेत्रों में शानदार काम किया है। एक Y20 का जो ग्रुप है यूथ के लिए, उसकी पहली मीटिंग का आयोजन 6 से 8 फरवरी 2023 गुवाहाटी में होने वाला है। तो उसके आयोजन को लेकर आज बैठक असम राज्य के अधिकारियों और केंद्र सरकार के अधिकारियों के साथ की गई।
Union Health Ministry has identified 3 priorities under the health track. They are health emergencies, prevention preparedness and response with a focus on One Health and antimicrobial resistance, strengthening cooperation in pharmaceutical sector for availability and access to safe, effective, quality and affordable vaccines, drugs and diagnostics, and health innovations in the digital sphere and solutions to aid universal health coverage and improve health care services delivery. The G20 health track of India's presidency will be held on the 18th to the 20th of January 2023 at Thiruvananthapuram. The working group meeting of the G20 will be held on those days. That's it then in this edition of India at G20. Thanks for watching.
विशाल है ना, इसका सब प्रॉपर चलता है।
कल उसके बैंक अकाउंट में 15,000 रुपए का फ्रॉड हुआ है, पता है?
इसको तो कोई टेंशन ही नहीं होती है, देखना।
टेंशन क्यों? मेरी कोई गलती नहीं थी। फिर भी फ्रॉड होने पर मैंने तुरंत बैंक को इन्फॉर्म कर दिया। आरबीआई कहता है अगर आपके अकाउंट से किसी ने धोखे से पैसे निकाले हैं तो बैंक को जल्द से जल्द इन्फॉर्म कीजिए। 3 दिन के अंदर इन्फॉर्म किया तो कोई नुकसान नहीं होगा। जितना लेट करोगे उतना ज्यादा नुकसान। और सुन, सब चलता नहीं है, प्रॉपर